Well guys, it looks like we're getting another high-powered, high-energy usage weapon from the Syndicate. Now I usually wait until all the dev blogs are out so I can make a video on it, because one dev blog usually doesn't have enough information. But I did find a clip of the new weapon which we can look through together. And I also watched a very interesting interview of the Path of Exile 2 director on what an ARPG needs to succeed. I've never made a video like this before, so I hope I get it right the first try, because the director had a lot of good things I 100% agree with. And hopefully if the developers of Crossout are watching, or someone who has a direct connection with the devs, can maybe share the video so the devs can learn something from this interview. Now the director is obviously going to be talking about Path of Exile 2, but what he's talking about you can also apply to Crossout, so that's why I found his interview so interesting. By the way, Path of Exile 2 is releasing pretty soon, and it might be one of the biggest game releases of our lifetime. I might even hop on and play it on the channel for a little bit. We'll see what happens.
Do you have any concerns about balancing going in?
For PvP?
For PvE?
Oh, for PvE? Oh, absolutely, right. I mean, Path of Exile is an atrocious game to balance. It's especially hard now because the amount of cross-class synergy that can happen, because we're doing a lot more of this sort of combo-type gameplay, and when we do that, we try to keyword things so that they would work across classes. So, for example, you've got something like a power charge, which is something that you can use to improve your abilities. And we try to have power charge mechanics on quite a lot of different classes. And what that means is that we've got to be very careful about what skills, because you can use skills from other classes. You've got to be very careful about how those things can happen, because like when you're balancing something, when you're looking at it, you may just be only thinking, okay, what can this do with the skills that I've got in this class? But given that you can use things from any class, we also have to be worried about all this other stuff, and it can kind of the explosion of different possibilities kind of gets out of control.
And that is exactly what's happening to Crossout right now. We have weapons, modules, cabins, and co-drivers, which can buff weapons their damage to an insane amount. Or you could choose to go to the opposite direction and give your build insane amount of resistance with a super high durability. And that's why we have the brick meta right now, which is still pretty annoying. We have 3 items in the game that can repair right now. They have the Titan wheels, the Master Cabin, and the Chronos Cabin. We have 2 cabins which gives you an insane amount of resistance and a co-driver. And of course we have the Averter module and the Omamore. And if you guys remember, as soon as they added those things to the game, it became a lot harder to balance. And by the way, the PoE 2 director is legit. I 100% agree with what he's saying.
And I know already that there's just like ultra broken stuff that you could do. Like if you use that bell with the Sork using Spark, it is broken as hell. Like you can just chew through any boss right now. So we need to do something about that.
Yeah, we have broken stuff in Crossout right now. If you use the double Scorpion with the Jackie and the Catalina, absolutely bust it. I have other examples. In the past, we had the Infinite Aegis Shield, where you could use 3 Aegis Shields, a Cheetah Engine, Bigfoot Wheels, and could have an Aegis Shield active at any time. And the devs just went with a lazy approach and just nerfed the thing to the ground to where nobody uses shield builds anymore. Another example is, it could be an item that has been in the game for a very long time, like the Tormentor. Nobody was using the Tormentor. Everybody was just using one Tormentor on their melee builds, but then one person came along, Steamil, and added 4 Tormentors to his melee build and just absolutely shredded everybody. So they nerfed it. Now the Tormentor nerf fortunately isn't the worst thing in the world, but the director is going to bring up something interesting, which I wish the devs focused on a little bit more too.
But that kind of thing is certainly tough to deal with. But we kind of like that stuff because that's what makes it interesting in the long term, right?
What's your philosophy in that? Like, I've heard it referred to as like nails on a board. You see one pop up a little too high. Do you just let it linger for a while before you tap it down where it needs to be?
So generally speaking, we don't do nerfs within a league. Like whatever the balance is when a season starts, we want to keep that so that people don't feel like they invest time into their character and then for the developers to come along and destroy what they were doing.
Exactly. That's what Crossout has been doing since the very beginning. Especially with this current battle pass. We got the Jackie module. It gave you a nice amount of buffs. And before the season even ended, they already nerfed the thing. But at the same time, at least they buffed the Slaughterers and the Swarm a little bit as well, because those things were just absolutely horrible. And that's just one example. There's a whole bunch of examples I can name. For example, right now, with the introduction or with the removal of the hit scan mechanic, guess what happened? People are selling their Punishers. Our Punishers are not as effective anymore. I'm giving that example because that's the most expensive rarity item in the game. The Punisher is a Relic machine gun, which you can easily get by grinding Clan Wars for the rest of your life, or you can just swipe your credit card for $300 and buy yourself 1 Punisher. Most builds use 3 Punishers, And most top players use upgraded Punishers. Guess what? Those 3 upgraded Punishers are kind of worthless now because they changed the whole way they function. And I just can't believe that Crossout is allowed to get away with that. Isn't it like something against the law or something? Making someone invest thousands of dollars or time, time is worth money, and just with a few clicks they can change it, and you can no longer use the item that you bought in its original form, how it was intended to be played, anymore. I can give 2 more examples that happened to me. Not so expensive, but still, it's unacceptable. I had 2 upgraded listener radars. For some odd reason, they decided that you can no longer mount more than 1 radar on your vehicle. So I had 1 listener radar upgraded in my storage that I could just not use anymore. The listener radar is a blue item, only 40 coins, but it's still worth real money. And the same thing happened to me again. I upgraded 4 of my tormentors, but now using 4 is just retarded and you basically can't do that anymore. So I 100% agree with this guy. Game developers should not be allowed to just change something completely after you've paid real money to get it.
So I always try to avoid that, but each season it is okay to be able to do some balance stuff. I don't want to just like whenever we're doing stuff like that, I try to find something that isn't what the players expect as for how we're going to change something. Like, I don't want to just like nerf the damage value, right? I mean, sure, you can do that, but it's cooler, I think, to kind of come up with something else to kind of subvert something that's going on and sort of make it more interesting.
I do have to give credit where credit is due. The devs buffed the meat grinder auger wheels to be really good right now, and the tow missile. Everybody is complaining about the tow missile right now, and a little bit of the fat man as well, but the tow missile, it was garbage for 5+ years. And now it's actually pretty good, even in Clan War. So those things I like. And that's what this guy's saying as well. Just do something that people don't expect, like buffing the tow missile, like make it incredibly powerful, instead of just nerfing things over and over and over and over. It's stupid. It's annoying. There were only 2 times where I say that a nerf was justified. And that was the release of the Raijin. The Raijin was extremely powerful. The problem with the Raijin was you can min-max it. You can bring it all the way down to 4k power score, giving new players the most disgusting welcome possible. Or you could use it at 12k, 13, 14k power score and still do extremely well just by adding a couple of modules. And the Raijin also had more than 1 perk, which was very strange. It has a perk for more damage resistance, and it has a perk for more accuracy and more damage. Like, I mean, like, why so many perks? And the second item was the Typhoon Cannons at release. At release, the Typhoon Cannons had the most busted perk of them all. It was cool, but it was just game-breaking.
I guess the funny part about that is, and I think the reason why a lot of developers just kind of turn into nerf fests with their patches is because it's way easier to see the thing that's broken and nerf it than it is to see the thing that's underpowered and buff it. Because it's just like, you don't really, like inherently the things that are not as powerful get less attention because players aren't playing with them, so they're not on your mind. And so yeah, the ability to sort of notice that stuff and buff it is actually quite hard to sort of get into the mindset of doing. But this is what you should be doing.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with this guy. IGN had an interview with this guy, so I'll leave a link in the description down below so you can watch the full video because this guy had some really good takes. A lot of developers can learn from this guy. All right, now let's take a look at that new weapon that the devs are planning to release. Music is badass, by the way. Really good. So I see those little canisters as a kaiju. I see something like a ballista crossbow type thing, and it also looks like a mace shotgun and a gravistar at the same time. Very nice bolt, high quality, I like it. Now we get an image from the front. Yeah, it really looks like a kaiju. Maybe you charge it up. I don't know, we'll have to see. It does look like a very big weapon, like a high energy usage, like 22, 23 energy weapon, because I can only see 1 on the build. Shoots 3 bolts, heats up the target, and blows it up. Huh, interesting. Does it also blow up? So it shoots the target, does periodic damage, and blows up? That's actually kind of crazy. Now, there is already a dev block on this weapon. Dev block is kind of short, but they do show this weapon and talk about it a little bit. The next season is going to be called the Wasteland Drift. So I said they were going to add maybe mechanical legs to the Syndicate, but it doesn't look like they're going to do that yet. They're going to focus on the traditional car combat stuff, which is good. So this new weapon is going to be called the Fukibari Legendary Crossbow. It shoots a burst of 3 spikes that deal damage and attach to the enemy. The projectiles heat up the part that they're stuck on and deal periodic damage to it. And it appears you cannot shoot them off by yourself. You'll have to go to a teammate so that he can shoot them off. The most efficient way to use the Fukibari is to aim for the largest and most durable enemy part. The weapon's high periodic damage would allow you to severely damage such parts. So it's gonna function like a Akari, but it's also gonna heat up the target for you. That is actually kind of interesting and kind of busted. Luckily, you can only mount one, at least that's what I think, on your build. So maybe that's a way to balance it. And in the past, I could say we never get high energy weapons in packs, but we have the Raijin now. So this could be a pack item, but it could also be a reward from the main battle pass itself. The next thing they talk about is a new movement park, an epic light movement park, the Uwabaki. Man, this thing looks so good. If I could use this IRL, man, it would look so badass. And these new wheels will increase the power of your armored car when the perk is active. You charge the perk by being close to enemies, but if you hit the enemy, it will reset or stop the perk. In the past, with modules, when they give you more power, the deaths would also include more top speed, but I guess the devs are trying something different this time, which is good. Good to see. And then last but not least, I talked about this last weekend on stream. We are getting a Relic plasma emitter, the NEMESIS. Now, in my opinion, the Helios is already extremely powerful. It's a very high skilled weapon and you need a very low ping to use it efficiently. I'm assuming that the NEMESIS is going to be used in the very exact same way as all the other plasma emitters. And one of the biggest issues with all the plasma emitters is that they have around 200 durability, which is not a lot. If this thing gets more than 360, it's going to be a force to reckon with for sure. So they say the perk of this thing is while you're not firing, the weapon accumulates charges up to a certain limit. One such charge significantly speeds up the charging of a volley. If you use the mechanic correctly and try not to jump into a fight on the front lines, then a little later you will have a great chance to enter the battle on your own terms and leave melted wrecks of the enemies in your path. So I wonder if you charge it up, if the charge stays for the entirety of the match. We'll have to see what I'm curious to see how it's going to work out. And then, of course, we're getting some new structural parts as well. This is the MR2 bumper, basically the bumper of the Cami cabin with a front mount intercooler. And these are the rear lights, the rear fenders. And then they also talk about a new PvP map coming. That's good. I've been wanting a new map. The new Brotherhood Stronghold map, or whatever it's called, it's pretty good, but I don't see it that often, which is kind of strange. So yeah, guys, that was it for today's video. This was a little bit of a different style video for me. I hope it does well, and I hope nothing gets copyrighted. But I just want to see the game do well, you know? Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, I hope I earned a like and a subscription to the channel. If you guys would like to see more, you can click on one of these two videos over here, and I'll see you there in a minute. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Peace!